All right, so while Republicans go on their years long campaign to claim that Joe Biden isn't mentally well or not all there, they are continuing to ignore Donald Trump's mental decline. They just pretend that it doesn't exist and nothing has changed between 2016 when Trump first entered the political arena and now in 2025. But Democrats are not letting them get away with it, especially Jasmine Crockett, who went on MSNBC today to call out Donald Trump and the Republicans for Trump's decline. So just take a look at this clip. We'll talk about it after. It's pretty great.
Nothing else, because I don't know where he's ever going to go. And I don't think that those that have gone through West Point expected to have their commander in chief address them and start talking about trophy wives or start talking about how he had so many investigations. What a great reminder that you are not qualified to be the person that potentially will command us as troops to go into war. Like, that is not instilling confidence whatsoever. And honestly, our troops deserve better. Our graduates deserve better. We as a country deserve better. And frankly, if we are going to ever be seen as the world leaders that we historically have been, the world deserves better. It is time for Republicans to start calling him out and start questioning his mental acuity and whether or not he is equipped to serve mentally. We know when it comes down to his criminality, he is not qualified to serve. But this is just absolutely deplorable.
So,
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't agree more with what Jasmine Crockett just said right there. Republicans have to start asking these questions, especially after the display we saw yesterday when Donald Trump gave the commencement address at West Point Military Academy in New York. During this speech, he rambled on about trophy wives. He admitted that he doesn't understand how stealth airplanes avoid enemy radar detection, and he ranted about his own election victory, his investigations into him, among a number of other things. He was speaking incoherently throughout this entire speech. I mean, what sane person goes to a commencement address and decides to talk about trophy wives in the middle of it, let alone a commencement address at a military academy? We have to be asking these questions, and I'm glad that Jasmine Crockett is doing just that, because I just want to also show you a video again from this display that we had yesterday from Donald Trump, where he ended his speech and it almost seems like he didn't know where to go. The military officer on the stage had to direct him to where to stand and like direct him by putting his hand on his back to get him to the location where he needed to be. Just take a look at this clip. I think it's just very strange. You can tell me what you think in the comments.
Ladies and gentlemen, at this time, please.
Yeah, I mean, you can see that this military officer has his hand out, like, guiding Donald Trump. And it would be one thing if this was Donald Trump's first time at West Point, that it was his first time giving this speech. Like, okay, I understand you've never been there before. Donald Trump has been to West Point before. He's been on that very stage. He should know where to go and where to be, and yet he has to be directed by military officers on the stage. I just think it's incredibly concerning that right now, this is the president of the United States who's ranting about all these different things during his speeches. He's also posting AI images of himself on social media. I mean, these questions have to be asked. And also, it's like, why is the White House conducting themselves in the way that they are, especially with their purge of transcripts from Trump's remarks on its website? They're just removing the transcripts. Instead, the White House has said that they're going to post videos instead, but the videos aren't entire speeches. They don't cover every single word that Donald Trump said. When Joe Biden was in office, they had the transcripts readily available. You could find all of Joe Biden's transcripts. You could find all of his speeches online. But when it comes to Donald Trump, the guy that they say is perfectly fit to serve, that there's no problem there, they're removing the transcripts, they're hiding them from the American people. It's incredibly concerning. And that brings me to an interview that I saw all the way back in April, which I think is incredibly relevant now to the transcripts being removed, the conduct we've seen from Donald Trump in recent weeks, which is an interview with Dr. John Gardner. He's a psychologist, a man who's been practicing in Baltimore for 35 years. In this interview with Mindsight News, which focuses on mental health, he said the press has sane-washed Trump's dementia and mental illness, a pretty scathing claim from the doctor. this website sat down for a Zoom call with Dr. John Gardner, a prominent psychotherapist and author who's practiced in Baltimore for 35 years and taught part-time at Johns Hopkins University Medical School. He also started a group that's anti-Trump called Duty to Warn. Basically, the group focuses on Donald Trump's mental decline, trying to warn the American people about this. And they asked him some questions that I think are really relevant here. Dr. Gardner, you've talked about two aspects of Trump in particular that make him a terrifying choice as president of the United States. What you see is advancing dementia and his serious mental illness. Let's talk first about Trump's dementia and his role as president of the most powerful country in the world. You have said, quote, "There's absolutely no doubt that Trump has dementia, including an ongoing deterioration in memory, thinking, behavior, and motor skills. Trump used to be very articulate in earlier years," you've said, "but now he often, quote, degenerates into literal incoherence, where no one can tell what he is trying to say. Could you talk about the signs of dementia you've observed in Trump during his most recent presidential campaign and now?" Dr. John Gardner said, "Certainly, when we're diagnosing dementia, what we need to see is a deterioration of someone's own baseline of functioning. What we see that a lot of people don't appreciate is that when Donald Trump was younger in the 1980s, he was actually quite articulate. He spoke in polished paragraphs. Now he has difficulty even finishing a sentence. His thoughts were logical and related. Now they're tangential. He goes off on these ramblings where he is confabulating things, weird things in which he'll talk about Venezuelans and mental hospitals, and then he'll talk about sharks and batteries or the late, great Hannibal Lecter and Silence of the Lambs. And why is he talking about Hannibal Lecter, a fictional character who was not great? He was a murderer, a serial killer. It makes sense in Trump's mind, but these are really random associations, and there's an accelerating rate of decline. But I think that this quote right here, there's absolutely no doubt that Trump has dementia, Dr. John Gardner says, which I think is incredibly relevant to what we're talking about here. There's also another question I want to show you, which is you've said that what is most alarming is how far Trump has declined in the last 4 years. In a petition signed by nearly 3,000 medical professionals warning that Trump's probable diagnosis is dementia, you said that sometimes forgetting a word is normal aging, whereas inventing words or using non-words is not. Could you elaborate? Dr. Gardner said he is losing his capacity for coherent speech. We've collected dozens and dozens of Trump's phonemic paraphrases in which you use sounds in places of actual words. What happened is that someone is trying to say a word and then they get to the first part, but they have to end it or create one because they can't remember the rest. Trump will say something like his for missiles or krishish for Christmas because he can't complete the word. This is a scathing analysis by a doctor who has taught this, has been practicing this for 35 years. And when you're seeing Donald Trump being unable to finish sentences, rambling at this West Point speech, talking about the most random things, these weird associations that Dr. Gardner just talked about, that being like trophy wives, for example, it does raise the alarm. And one of the main reasons I'm talking about this with you is not only is it incredibly concerning, but Republicans proclaim to Claire about the mental acuity of our leaders when they've gone on this disinformation campaign against Joe Biden, but simultaneously, they'll ignore Donald Trump, his incoherent rants, his rambling, his making up of words on the spot. It's all very concerning. Republicans will attack Biden, but pretend that Donald Trump doesn't even exist, pretend that everything is fine and everything is normal. It's insane, and it shows you the hypocrisy of the Republican Party. So shout out to Jasmine Crockett, who is one of my favorite Democrats in Congress right now, for calling out Donald Trump and stating the obvious here about Donald Trump and his ability. So I will leave the video there. Thank you so much for watching. I appreciate you being here. Make sure to subscribe down below. It goes an incredibly long way. Also, drop a like on the video and comment. Let me know what you think about all of this. And as I always say, I greatly appreciate you, and I hope you have an amazing rest of your day.